We're back to stream some classical chess on LiChess. This is our second game, so we still have a provisional rating, but it's going up quite quickly. So we are up to 1773. The last game was over quite quickly. Hopefully we get a little bit of a longer game today, and hopefully the quality of opponent will also be a lot higher. I'm not sure exactly how to judge the ratings in classical because it is a very different pool to the regular pools in Rapid and Blitz, but we'll see how it goes. We still can't do a rating filter. I'm assuming that's because we are still provisional. So let's hop in. Let's see if we can get a game. We had black last time, so I am banking on the fact that we're going to get... Oh, we got matched quite quickly. Oh, black again. Okay. Knight f6. Doesn't seem to be... Okay. We may have to reconnect the clock as well. Just let me reframe the board here. This is the only thing, because the Chessnut Move is so goddamn big. Now the clock is still taking down the time, but okay, so let's see, this could be a London. But regardless, let's just play g6. Okay, this is not connecting. Ah, okay, sorry, yes, we have the clock now, so we have to confirm our move with the clock. That's what I'm missing. Okay. So our opponent's 1776. They're not provisional, so hopefully we get a good game here. Our opponent's thinking, for some reason. They could transition this into a Queen's Gambit sort of position. Okay, London it is. And let's play King's Indian. King's Indian setup against London I find quite fun. It is, I find, a lot more immediately tactical. Okay, now this move kind of forces us, which is annoying. Maybe bishop g7 was a better move there initially, because now we do kind of have to, unless we want to get move ordered into Peertz, we kind of need to then push d5, which is a little bit annoying. Okay, is there any way for us to... Well, I guess we can play bishop c5. They have transitioned into a Jabava London, so they can go for the knight b5 sort of idea. have been move ordered a little bit. This was a little bit rash from me. Okay. Now we are just going to be down a tempo in the Jababa London. This is not a good start. Okay. I mean, they could transition to a Pierce, which I do not play and I do not like. But let's take the risk, shall we? Yeah, e4. Okay, we are going into a Pierce. Okay. Here, knight b to d7, e5, takes. We don't have anywhere to really put that knight. b7, e5, takes. Let's try it. I think actually c5 is the move there. c5 is the move. I'm pretty sure it's c5. Now if they don't push e5, I think that's what we'll play next. Okay. c5, still e5. We can take. He can take the knight. We can take his knight. He can take our pawn. We take with the queen. That might be okay. That might be okay. We aren't getting castled as quickly as they're going to, it seems. So bishop g7. Bishop g7. The e5 move is the issue. We could play e5 ourselves. e5. d-takes. Knight takes. Knight takes. Bishop takes. So e5. I feel like c5 is the move. Let's play it. Then we're going to play bishop g7. Bishop g7 castles. Because we are threatening c takes d4 at the moment. I think. And then whatever they recapture with, I think we're threatening e5. If they took with the queen. Yeah, I think so. I think. Not the opening I was hoping for sure. They do have very good development. We have very little. We've pushed a lot of pawns. They have good central control. Let's see what our opponent does. We did use a bit of time in the opening trying to formulate a workaround for being move ordered like this, but time's evening up now. If d takes c, knight takes c5, e5. It's a little dangerous. It's a little dangerous. Because the knight's no longer supporting the e5 square. Guarding it, rather. I have a feeling our lack of castle in here is going to bite us in the ass a little bit. D takes c5, knight takes c5, e5, knight h5, bishop g5, d takes e5. If knight takes, then f6. Okay, the take. Okay, I think we have to take knight takes. e5. Yes, we'll lose castling rights, I think. Yeah, okay. Okay. Get into... Okay. let's knight h5, say bishop g5, d takes e5, queen takes d8, king takes d8, rook d1 check, king okay, let's try it. Okay. Okay, they are threatening g4 there if we fianchetto our bishop. No, they're not. No, they're not. Now, if they subsequently move the knight, yes. But we can attack their knight. Okay. Okay, he's looking, the queen trade, he's looking us to lose castle and rights. Okay. Okay. He's looking alongside queenside castle, I believe. If they can get knight to g4 in and support the e5 pawn with f4, It could be a little bit of an issue, I guess. I'm assuming my opponent here is choosing between queenside castle and just rook d1 check. Queenside castle would make the most sense, I think. Although in the endgame here, castling's a little less important. We do have, depending on what my opponent does here, just wondering if knight f4 attacking the pawn, attacking the bishop. Say the queenside castle, king d, or king e8. We do need to get e6 in. We do need to get e6 in to get the king to e7. Get it pretty safe. No dark square bishop, so it can't be easily attacked there, I don't think. Helps defend the f7 pawn as well, but I would love them to castle kingside. I'd love them to castle kingside and allow me to play e7, so when they inevitably check on d1, I can just move the king there in one move instead of getting checked now, going to e8. Okay, so that's unfortunate. I'm just wondering if I can get away with bishop to c7. Bishop to c7 and then e6. I'm just wondering, is there a way for them to attack that bishop? It's a knight. Okay, I'm thinking, say, bishop c7, rook to d, or bishop to d7, rook d2, king. The king would need to go to c8, but the safer way is to play king e8 now and do it slightly slower, I think. Although that does give them the option of swinging the knight in to swinging the knight well, if I play a bishop Yeah, no, if I play king e8 now, they can go to they can bring the knight to d5 and threaten a fork. There isn't an awful lot I could do about that, so I think I'm going to go bishop d7. If they bring the rook up and try to stack the rooks, what I will do is I'll play rook c8 and rook c8. So there, bishop c7, bishop d7, rook d2, rook I don't think they have anything. Rook to c8, rook d1, rook to bishop c7, I think, has to be the move. I think this is our only way. They can't play e6. I think we just have takes e6, double pawns. Pawn structure is pretty bad, but we will be up a pawn there. If they don't stack the rooks in the d file, I will definitely play e6, as that just prevents a lot of those knight maneuvers. They do have knight. No, they don't. Okay, he's going in for it. I see. Well, I think this is early. No. Okay. Okay, they're looking to play knight to b6. Now, I don't think, and it means that I can't play that now, because e6, that doesn't work. Okay. See, we have the check if they do try to play g4. So I think what we're going to play here is, it could end in a very quick repetition if we go rook c8, knight to b6, rook to c7, and that's okay. I think we have to play rook c6 though, or c8. There. Okay. So if we don't, we have no way to defend. Okay. And in this version, if they don't go for knight to b6 immediately, I think we play rook to c6. And already, I think if they don't play knight b6 immediately, we can play king to e8 now, which helps to defend the f7 pawn. Also, if they try to play knight g5, threatening the fork, we can pin it with bishop to h6, f5, knight takes f5, knight takes f5, bishop takes, pinning the knight and the other knight. So we have that in our back pocket. I think they are going to play knight b6 though. This is unfortunate. There is the possibility that we could play something like bishop to e6, which I think is a good move. There is a discovered attack, but that discovered attack would take away the e8 square from the knight, or from the king, and also massively ruin our pawn structure on the king side. So I don't think we can do that yet. I think we need to play, if they don't play b6, I would like to get king e8 in, I think. Yeah. Got ourselves in a little bit of a pickle here for sure. Unnecessarily so. Just had played the opening super badly. Okay. I see what they're looking to do. I neglected to say that, but they can't take the knight immediately. That's the thing. They can't take the knight immediately. If they take the knight immediately, they lose 2 pieces, I think. So if we go knight h6 and they go bishop takes h5, we go bishop takes g5. They can play f4, but I think we take another pawn. Bishop takes f4, knight takes f4, pawn takes g5. They can win g5. Okay, I see. Okay, well, we can't threaten the fork, so I think we're just going to have to forgo the pawn structure on the king side, and we may have to figure out a way to get this bishop, or this king castle, over on the queen side, which is not very safe, but it could be okay in the middle. If we can get e6 in, put the king on e7, that could be a relatively safe square. that could be relatively safe. I did neglect a detail. I neglected a detail. If they play f4, we will have to play king to e7. We will have to play king e7. Because, well, hold on. Can we get two pieces for a rook? f4, knight takes f4, knight takes f7, check, king e8, knight takes h8, knight takes e7. We can't actually. Yeah, but is that knight could be trapped. That knight could be trapped. Still, we're going to get down to an end game. I would like to have my rooks, please. Okay, f4, knight takes f4, knight takes f7 check, king e8, knight takes h8, knight takes e. Knight takes e2 check. King has to go to b1. Knight can't go to f7, so king can't go to f7 because the knight currently covers that square. Can't start sacking the knight for our kingside pawns, which is troublesome. And when we play e6, they still have. Now, I think simply bringing the bishop back to g7 will trap the knight, and we can't get two pieces for a rook. But if they play knight to b6, rook c7, rook c7 defends, they can go back, we can go back. That might just be a draw. That might just be a draw if they repeat moves. But as soon as we can get e6 in, that all. So they take f pawn, I take their f pawn, equal material. They take the rook, I take the bishop. They can take another pawn, I take. What I don't think they can do, I don't think. Okay, they're playing f4. Okay, now the decision has to be made whether or not we're going to go into that line. If we play king e8, they're going to take the knight with the bishop. They're going to take the knight with the bishop. Once our bishop is on g7, we can win the knight, and we can also win that other central pawn. So I think the best that we can do is to just go into that line. It's a rook and a pawn for 2 pieces. I think we got to do it. I think we got to try it. Oh, the bishop is also hanging. The bishop is also hanging. But their bishop's hanging. If they take the bishop, that will be okay, I think. They're still threatening the fork. This is dangerous. Bishop's hanging. I think we should have played king e8. I think when we come to analyze this, it'll say king e8 was the way to keep the balance. With bad pawn structure, but at least we aren't down material. At least we aren't down material. Yeah. Okay. I think actually taking the bishop is the mature decision. I think taking the bishop is the mature decision. Possibly. Oh, this has not been a good game at all. I am seeing the possibility of whenever we take knight takes e2 check, if he takes the bishop, this is. Oh no. I was thinking of going bishop g4 there, to defend the knight. But there's no discovery there, and that square is covered. Takes the bishop. Okay. Yeah. suppose. That's not the worst. If we play knight d4 and they play, that is guarded by a knight. Okay. Knight d4, c4. Get his knight to go there, we can fork it with e6, but there's a lot of checks, unfortunately. Just trying to see where we're going after knight d4, f4, knight b4. Okay. King's extremely unsafe. I'm just trying to choose between bishop, okay. Stops the knight coming in there, stops anything coming in there really. Let's go here. Is knight b6 a problem? I don't think so. I can... This knight's a little bit stuck. Just not sure how we attack it really. Now, if that b2 pawn wasn't there, we do have a potential fork with bishop takes d5 and then knight to c3, but I'm not entirely sure how we orchestrate that. We could go b4. We can't do that too early though because, oh no, we can. b4, knight to b6. Okay. Kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to do, but okay, gets rid of those forking ideas. It's going to try and stack the rooks. Now, I think if I play the knight to d4, he has to defend the knight or move the knight. Okay. I think we will play d4. I think it's the best move. Next on attack, let's go here. Now we are up a considerable amount on time, which is helpful, but nonetheless, if they play d3, or sorry, if they play c3 to chase away the knight, we can take the knight. They take our knight. We take the pawn, they take the pawn. If they try to defend the knight with c4, we just have b4, I think. They can play b6, we play rook to c6. They don't have e5. They can go a8. Okay. Okay. We can play rook to c6. I'm trying to think of something more. Better. So if we don't control that square, they can land the knight in there. They can bring, see if we can bring our king to to g7. Attack that knight. See, I don't want to lock the rook in. So okay, the knight defends it for the moment, so it's not absolutely crucial. It's not absolutely crucial. It does let his knight into the game again, though. It does let his knight into the game. Can I play king d7? We can defend the bishop here. We play b5. Knight takes e6, knight takes e6. I don't like that. If I play rook to d... No, if I play rook to d8, I will play rook. The other option is to play bishop to g1. We could also play... We could play bishop to c4, possibly provoke g4. So many weaknesses in our position. If we play bishop to f5, knight takes f5, g takes f5, they can always just push. Yeah. Okay. we're going to have to start using the clock, I think, because this... Okay, I'm going to try bishop c4 and trying to reroute the knight to c6. That's my idea, I think. Okay. Don't know, it's a bad position. It's a bad position. I mean, the good thing is material is equal. Material is equal. We just have an extremely bad pawn structure and extremely weak king. Now, the good thing about the bishop on c4 at the moment is that it is preventing the rook coming to f1, and that diagonal is very weak for us. And just really not sure. I really don't want to cross onto the d file because then our knight will get pinned and they can play c3 and pick it off. So I don't want to play that. I think if we're going to try and make the king safe, we're probably going to have to try and get to g7. It's the only place I can think of going. They can get a good outpost on f6 with the knight if they go knight to g4, knight f6. Okay, they're going there immediately. Okay. Which isn't bad because, well, the bishop's still there, I guess. And we can... King is getting boxed in though. Okay. If we go knight to c6, they can save the pawn. Sure. But then I think we can play rook to f8. Okay, let's try that. I think they would love to play knight to e6, but that square is covered just for the moment. If they play b3 now to chase away the bishop, I think I will preemptively play rook to f8. they can play. Well, if I do that. Okay, that is concerning. Okay. Rook f8, g3, g5, knight to h5. Okay. Okay. King is. Okay. Now I cannot play. Oh. G5, knight to h5. h5, aiming for g7, but because we've played okay. Need to play quickly. h5, he's going to be looking for knight to g7 checkmate if he goes knight to h5. Now if they play, okay, he's going for it. Yes, I think he sees that, but I don't know if they see that I can take the knight. So let's take this. I think that might be the game. We're up a piece. I'm not seeing what they can really do about it. Ooh. That was close. That was close. Okay. I think they're going to bank on the king being in the open, but I'm pretty sure we can hide the king on the king side here. Let's take this. Okay, we can't hide if they check us on e1. We will have to go f7 and hide on this side of the board. I will happily trade rooks off here, no problem. We are up a piece. Yep, okay. That was close. That was really, really close. Because we were definitely worse. Like, I mean, our position was really bad. Really, really bad. Knight defends e7 if he tries to stack on the e file. Ooh, still have to convert it. Still have to convert it, but there we go. Resigns. Oof. Oh. Yeah, I mean that tactic looked good for white. It's just the fact that the bishop could take on e6, and then they needed to move the knight. I'm not sure if there was something else there, but at least we seen that tactical sequence that did not work, obviously. Okay, GG to our opponent. We've went up another 153 rating points, so well into the 1900s, I believe. Let's review the game. I'm going to disconnect the board. The last review, I did try to do an engineless, just OTB review. I don't think that worked out for you if you're sitting watching this. So I think what I'm going to do is that we will very quickly just look at the opening. I think is the part that we want to look at the most. I'm not sure if there was much else in the middle game that we missed. We will take a look, obviously, but I want to look at the opening and just see if there are any if there's anything that we could have done better. I'm pretty sure that what we should have done, we should have played bishop to g7 earlier, because I do sometimes sleepwalk into the Pearts whenever I'm trying to play the King's Indian sort of setup against the London, which I thought we were going to go into. But anyway, let's get the analysis board set up, and I will just disconnect the move. So we'll just let the board reset first. We'll look at the opening here. This. Okay, now obviously if they play knight to c3 here, then we can just go d5 in one fell swoop. So then we sort of transition into sort of like a line in the Jabava London, I guess. Not something I'm awfully familiar with, but that tends to be the way things go. So we decided to stick with our sort of King's Indian setup here, fully expecting e4. Now when they played here, we could have played d5 just to prevent d4, but then I was worried about sort of getting into positions where they play knight to b5 here, and you know, kind of going for that fork on the c7 pawn. We would be then forced, I think we would be forced to play knight to f6 to prevent that, and then our knight's horribly placed, and that's just one of the sort of main ideas of the Jabava London out of the opening. So I decided to stop the Jabava London, fully welcoming the Pearts, which I hate. I love to play against the Pearts. I think I typically do very, very well against it. So here, and in this position, I'm pretty sure that we should have played c5 immediately. I think that is the line. I think we will check this with the engine very shortly, but here, and e5, and this is the issue. Here, okay, didn't see that until just at the end of my calculation of playing knight to h5, but I thought, and I knew once this was played that we were going to go into an endgame, so they would of course take, we would take back with the pawn, they would take the queen, we'd have to take with the king, and then I knew the d file would be an issue. I think we dealt with those issues as best we could, but this is obviously not a great opening from us. They're getting a lot of activity, all their pieces basically are developed, I mean, I guess so were ours, but just two horrible places. Our knight is on the rim, our light square bishop is pinned, our dark square bishop is stirring at the e5 pawn, so it's really out of the game. Yeah, once we were in this position, I seen g5, I seen knight g5, and we pinned it. And I feel like this is probably going to end up being a mistake. I feel like we should have played king e8. I think they probably have it. I think they probably would have at most won a pawn here, because I think they would have played, if we'd have played king to e8, and it's not going to let me do it off the analysis board, we'd play king e8, knight to b6, rook to sneaky, rook to c7 to protect the bishop. Now knight takes f7. We cannot take with the king. I mean, we can, but I don't really want to give away the bishop pair for nothing and welcome their rook into the position onto the 7th rank. So you can see here, if they play knight to b6, we go here. Sorry, in this position we go here. Now they go here, we go here. Now they take, and if we take the knight, then they can take, well, they can just take the bishop if they want, and if we take back, obviously they would have the rook in here. The other option is we play king to e8, knight to b6, rook to c7, knight takes, rook goes here, they bring the knight back, and now we pin it. Now we pin the knight. I think at the most here, I was kind of a little bit worried about a draw. I didn't want to have a draw, even though I think our opening play warranted at best a draw. But there are also complications here. But at least the rook is on the FL, so when they play this move here, they can win another pawn here, which is why we need to pin the knight to the king. Okay, I think the engine's going to be unforgiving in this game, but I think we pulled it back. We pulled it back from a very, very bad opening. Let's go to the analysis board. We'll just keep it on LiChess because I don't think there's too much to analyze here. Wow, that is a blunder. They were winning substantially more, it would seem. I'm assuming that is knight b6. So let's go from the start of the game. We get to here. It's saying g7 immediately. Yes, this is where we should have played bishop to g7. Wow, we were very much losing out of the opening. And if it wasn't for that failed tactic that they tried, we would have lost the game, I think. So, yeah, this is the point where we should have played. Bishop to g7 here, because this leaves everything on the table. If we play bishop here, if they develop the knight, then we can just play this move as well. If we play the bishop here, they develop the knight, we can go here. They can still try this tactic, I believe. So we would have that to contend with. But maybe we can, yeah, maybe we can chase the knight away later, bring this knight in here, and sort of attack their center like this, maybe. But okay, lesson learned. With this move order, bishop g7 first. Bishop g7, and then yeah, okay. Lesson learned. Still bishop g7. Still bishop g7. c6 also. Okay. I'm going to assume that we played this in the worst possible way. The worst possible way. Yikes. Okay, this is plus 1.3 for white. This is extremely good, and it's extremely good because they can just rip the center open when we are very far from being castled with e5. Okay. G7 has to be played. We decided to rip open the center when we're not castled. That, on reflection, is a very, very poor idea. But I think the feeling here is play bishop G7. If they play E5, play knight to, I don't know, knight to H5. Attack the bishop. Castle. Get out of there. If they trade pawns in the center, that's okay. We can take with the E pawn. It's not ideal, but okay. Knight takes here. E6 to counterattack the bishop. So this is the move. Sorry. This is the move. Counterattack the bishop. Bishop goes here. Then we can take the pawn here. Okay. So we misplay it, but I just did. The opening is usually my strongest area of the game, but this was particularly bad. I'm very, very surprised we were able to come away with a victory here. We did not deserve it, not based on our open play anyway. Here. Okay, G7 was finally correct. D-takes. Okay, so white is winning this game. Castle's good. D1 is good. And it is saying if they do not check us immediately, that C7 and running to that side of the board is better. And I guess it just takes a shorter amount of time. But geez, you really think that with the pawn on C5, you have a hook on A6, that they would just be able to break apart that, even sack the bishop on H6. You know, if you have a rook sitting in the vicinity to swing in to check and all, it seems very, very dangerous regardless. But that's what you get for very, very shoddy opening play. Check, and it just says go C7. Our move to block with the bishop was a monumental mistake. C7 is infinitely better. It sort of keeps the status quo, plus 1.3 for white. This is plus 3.2, 3.5. It gets worse the more the engine looks at it. Okay, knight to D5 was correct from our opponent. Now B5. B5 C8. Rook C8. Yeah, roughly the same. Bishop E6 is what I had kind of looked at. This kind of idea here. I figured if they go here, then we have to go. Okay, all right, that's not actually so bad. Okay, our move Rook C8 was the third best move. Now G4. G4. We did look at G4. This move is a massive blunder, and we actually did play it correctly. H6 is the move. Defending with H4. I didn't consider that because it didn't actually deal with the pin itself. Like, the knight is still pinned, and they can't use the knight, but we can't use the bishop either, unless we want to give up the pin. H4 was the better way to defend it. F4, and now the game is wide open again. Now it's plus 0.4, and we played this correctly. Knight takes F4, knight takes F7, E8. The engine is saying that the only way for white to keep a small advantage is knight takes F4. Here, F8. What? Because they defended here, I guess. Okay. Then, when you can never play E6 because of the fork. And did we just give away the exchange? Is that what we do? So they play. I mean, seeing all this is pretty crazy. Okay. G4. Oh, this G4. Not that G4. This G4. Okay. Here. And then just cementing the knight in there. Disgusting. Disgusting. Giving away the exchange. If you move the rook, it's basically just, it's a draw at that stage. Nuts. Okay, and I guess the argument is that it's just so dominant. Where are you putting this bishop that's any good? You know? Here, you cannot move this rook. You are frozen. You could go here. Here. Well. Here. No. We could go there. Here, here, here. Okay, now we have two rooks. Here. He has to take it, right? Otherwise it's made. So here, here. And then I'm moving in here. This seems like a win. Huh. Okay, b5. d5. Disgusting. That is fucking disgusting. Yeah, I assumed we were going to have to give away the exchange at some point, and that's why it was okay to give away the exchange here. But I don't know, crazy line. Okay, so we did play this correctly, but not taking the knight on f4 is the mistake. Now we are, it's basically even, but black has a very, very, very small advantage. We take. Yeah, and I thought he was going to bring the king up there, and then we would have been forced to play, you know, if the king comes to d2, we would have been forced to play this, maybe this, maybe just here, even though this knight's dead. Maybe we can go here instead. These arrows, I haven't drawn a single good arrow there. Okay, maybe this is better. And in here to try and trade off the knight, maybe. I don't know, but we are very slightly winning at this stage. Okay, now we have a good chance. e6 was correct. Just take the knight. Wow, okay. Yeah, I guess the knight's just causing us a lot of issues, but we went, okay, that was a mistake. That's a mistake. I guess the thing is that I was worried about them doubling on the, that's what I was worried about. I was worried about them doubling the rooks on the d file. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. You know, if we were to play b5 here, which is like the third best move, why they wouldn't just double the rooks. We go here. This says rooks takes. Why? How come? Here. Here. Okay. I suppose. See e6. I was looking at that. If we could play e6 ourselves, it would be good. But and are we literally just going for this? Attacking here. This pawn means we can't move. Yeah. Not sure how we would have played that. Okay, we went here. f4 was the correct move. c4 was correct. e6, this is a blunder because of b3. I've seen the possibility of b3, but in this position, e6 just to trade off the knight, and you get to blockade that pawn. Yeah, damn it. Huh. Okay, because now we do have issues with e6. e6 is a perpetual issue. There, f8 was correct. d8 I did not. Knight to d8 I did not see. Knight to d8. So we're attacking this. g3, okay. Here, here. Bishop takes. Okay. Huh. h4. stopping this. Okay, G8. Aha. Alright, now we can get our king in here and have this file. Interesting, I just did not consider the backwards knight move at all. Sorry, I did consider backwards knight moves, just not that one in particular. Quite a bit, complete sense to blockade the pawn. Okay, white has an advantage again, and they just threw it away with this move, which is weird because it looks like such a good move. You're given this outpost for the knight, which is just looks absolutely deadly. And you're cutting off the king completely here. King can't move here. The only square it can move to is here. And then, look, what are you doing with this rook? This rook is just isn't in the game. Interesting, okay. D8 was the move. This was a big mistake. So they went to H5, I considered that, but they're saying D5. Yeah. Okay. G8. We had to stop that apparently. Big advantage for white. This is not a good move. Just move the knight away. Just move the knight away. Huh. If they play knight to H6, we are fucked. We have to give the rook away. We have to give away the exchange. Huh. We have to go rook F6 because it gives the king this square, and now just takes, and this is pinned. That is pinned. Even though they didn't even say, they just rip open this side of the board. Jesus. Okay, but our opponent succumbed to temptation. Big mistake. Now it's -5 for black. Here. F7 resigns. Good game from our opponent. We definitely, we're all taking responsibility for this. I really messed up the opening, which doesn't normally happen, but move order's a bitch. Gotta play better next time. Into the 1900s. We'll play another game maybe this week, maybe next week, but we'll keep with the classical climb. And once we have a few games under our belt, board seems to be working well. We've got the clock going now. Once we get a few more games under our belt and sort of get the rating stabilized just a little bit, because it's still going up by the hundreds at the moment, then we will have a look at joining the LiChess ladders and playing some really high quality classical chess, and trying to increase our over the board vision and ability.